Welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Kristina Liu, your producer and host, and my co-host today is Otto Lowe's dear friend, volunteer, Project Independence ambassador, and soon-to-be birthday boy. If anyone is watching us on YouTube or North Hempstead TV, you will see this lovely happy birthday balloon floating around.
Medicare.
Floating around his head. So it is, of course, we've been celebrating.
I've been on Medicare 23 years.
I know.
I'm doing okay.
You're the inspiration, and we certainly say this all the time, Otto, but you are the man that we all inspire to be, such wisdom. And we will certainly get into some of that wisdom. Well, I think you have there is some luck at hand, but I do think you also take a lot of steps to prevent things and to do things proactively.
Try.
Yeah, that's it. We all can't be perfect, but you certainly you do it. And our first hour of show, we had on Dr. Greg Landis, who is the system chief for vascular surgery over at North Shore University Hospital. It was such an incredible interview. If you missed it, I highly recommend that you check it out. You could watch us on North Hempstead TV, on YouTube. You could subscribe to the podcast. I mean, there's so many different things to do. And please call 311 if you need any information, or 516-869-6311. I love those phone calls that I get. Is someone said, I was watching TV and I missed it. I need the phone number. And I like when they put me on a hunt and say, there was this guest that was on. I was sorry, do we know what day it was? Work with me here. But please always call 311 and I will certainly help you, because this vascular. I mean, I wrote down so many notes, and I can't remember how many weeks or months ago it was, but we had a conversation talking about, and we said, what is vascular health? And I don't remember you saying, I don't know too much about it.
I know. And I found out today I know very little.
Yeah, so there we go. We learned a lot, and it was really informative.
But he was excellent, Dr. Landis.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was so much. It's always this fine line when you have medical topics on, because of course it can be heavy and depressing and scary. But I think that Dr. Landis really showed the positive side of it and the advancement, and that's really what I took away with it, is that God forbid you don't have to go down these roads, but there are really not I love that he kept saying that everyone could go back and play golf the next day. So this person came in, they could play golf. I said Otto is definitely
he mentioned
great.
Golf twice.
Yeah, I know.
I asked him about that.
I saw Otto. I said, okay, all right, you're talking my language.
He probably plays golf.
Yeah, but really incredible, and I think it's important to certainly keep track of your body. We always say that we're our best advocate in that. Just and I was thinking too, when you were saying, even when you're on a particular medication or something, just writing things down, or having a little medical kind of journal, for yourself. You say, this is making me feel a little tired, or, I have these joint pains, or, I've been getting headaches, because I'm glad you brought up the blood clot issue, because there was actually a couple of people that have, come in and out of my life in different professional and personal ways, that had these blood clots that just showed up, and sometimes it's in the brain, and, it's terrifying. You hear that, and it's so incredibly scary. So I think he really shed a lot of light on that as well. So really good stuff. I highly recommend it. We kicked off our 14th year, Otto, today with a quite a bang, with a great guest.
Beginning of 14.
Yes, that's right. But also, more importantly, we love to celebrate on the show. I mean, last week was our anniversary. This week is your birthday, Otto. So I love that I get to spend another birthday with you.
Well, I thank you for always making a big deal out of my birthday. Of course. You're excellent party girl.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's all about celebrating.
And you have a lot of feeling for people. That's why it comes out.
Well, thank you, my friend. Well, you deserve it all, because you're a great friend and a great man, and I'm lucky to know your family, who it's really nice. So what are you doing? Is anything special for the birthday?
Well, it wasn't really planned for the birthday, but we have a family group of 14 going to the Jet game this weekend. I brainwashed the family right from the beginning.
Step one.
I went to the Jet game right from the beginning when they first started, and the whole bit that goes along with it. So we stay over Some of us stay over Saturday and Sunday night at a hotel near the stadium. Uh, and there's a brunch involved and all kinds of
Oh,
stuff involved.
brunch.
So,
Lovely.
uh,
So nice though. It's
yeah,
really I think that's one of the things I love most about your family is that you guys really make a priority because there's a lot of you. Clearly, I mean, 14 people going to a Jet game is a lot of people,
it's
and there's
actually all my children or grandchildren.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but it's just
So
so
I'm
nice that you get
that's
to
where
do
I'm
this.
blessed.
Yeah.
Cheers.
There you go. Cheers. Absolutely, my friend. But I think that that's just so lovely, and it's certainly a testament to you and your family and your wife, my bunny, who has been your bride for how many years now?
Oh, married in 1978.
Mm,
So
mm,
in
like
October, it'll be 46 years.
wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So Otto, on your birthday, I always like to ask you what because you are someone, I must say, who no matter how old you get, and that's why I quote you, older, I should say, not we don't like to use the word old on the show.
Right.
You still which I think is a testament to your spirit, are someone who wants to continue learning something new. You're not the kind of guy who says, I'm not, I capped out, I'm not trying that. You bowl, you golf, you walk, you're always down for a new experience, which I think is really, really special and something that, certainly makes you who you are. So, do you have any specific goals or wishes for this new year?
Well, that's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
question. I think my goals are always similar.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like to be able to personally, we'll start with, I
Yeah.
think you have to start with yourself, all
Mm-hmm.
right, uh, to maintain health and strength and mobility, uh, to have a good relationship with family is always a goal, and hopefully have an impact on my family, which I think I do.
I think so.
Uh, and kind of hope that I can handle whatever comes along. Um, it's not always, uh, I've had a few bumps along the
Yeah,
way,
that's right.
uh, and hopefully have the ability to handle what is given to me to handle, um, which sometimes is good and sometimes it's not so good. Um, and, yeah, take it one day at a time. You can't project out too far in life. We always talk about trying to be prepared. You can be prepared to a point.
Right.
You can have a top level plan and be ready to be flexible with that plan because usually it doesn't work. Right.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah. So usually you have to adapt. So I think adaptability, um, it started in my life early,
Yeah.
uh, and my work world required. I went through a stretch where I worked, and this is not. A, I worked for 10 different people in a 14-month span. The corporate glory, you know. Um, there was a company called Litton Industries, which is a big holding company. They would buy somebody, then they would decide to change this to that, and worked for 7 different company names
Yeah.
during that time. And I always survived.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because I said, okay, this is it. This is the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to adapt. And I can't tell you how many products I sold in my life that required me to adapt. And others said, nah, I'm not going to, nah. And I always took the approach, I'm going to have to adapt to that if
Yeah.
I expect to go forward. And I think that was one of the things that really helped me in my business life and actually my family and
Yeah, because it's
personal life
personal.
also.
Right.
My first wife, is the
Yeah.
story, died when she was 40 years old. I had 3 little kids. Uh, there were some people who think you got to really you grieve, but you got to adapt too.
Yeah.
You got to function. It doesn't mean that I didn't love my
Of
wife. I
course.
did, and I had to adapt. And to me, uh, maybe that's the thing that comes up a
It
lot.
is. I wrote it down,
You
my
know,
friend. I got my golden nugget for the
yeah,
day
you know,
because
you have to. I mean, things don't always go the way you want,
Mhm.
and you have to adapt and
Yeah.
don't squawk about it uh, too much. You're allowed to squawk a little bit,
Yeah,
but
a minor
and then
squawking.
get off the pot and
There it
you
is.
know,
I was waiting for that. You get
it's
off that pity pot.
yeah, yeah, and adapt to what you're involved with, whether it be, in my case, I'm still a little involved with business uh, and in life in general. And frankly, one of the hardest things to adapt to nowadays is society
Yeah.
in a lot of areas, I think, is not in a good way. You know, but again, you can't control that.
Mhm.
I think that's another thing is you try to control what you can really control, but forget about thinking you're going to control the world.
Yeah.
It don't work like that. You know, that you
Well,
know,
yeah,
Yeah.
let me just
I knew I saw
chime
the
in
Wizard
here.
of Oz over here swinging this mic
Chime
around.
in
He had
here.
something to say.
First, I want to say happy birthday.
thank you.
All right, because I'm the one who started the phrase. I want to grow up to be Otto.
Yeah, you did. It's
All right?
kind of Dan and I's mantra, you
And,
know.
and I think what you're saying is exactly right. I think the problem we have with a lot of people is they don't adapt. They just want to do things exactly the way they
Mhm.
want to do it. And I agree with you. Some of the most successful moments in my life, personally and professionally, have been due to adaptation, due to saying, I have to adapt to this.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
have to make this.
Nothing, the
yeah.
only thing constant is change, all right? That's a phrase
Well,
that
look
I
at 'em.
heard 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a fact.
Yeah.
You know,
and
nothing, when we walked in this door this morning, we are now older than we were when we, before, all right? And we adapted by talking to somebody, Dr. Landis, which we really didn't know a whole lot about.
No.
We're not vascular experts.
I'm not.
But we adapted and we tried to learn as much as we could about it.
Mhm.
And you know, some people don't want to do that.
No,
And
you're right. And I think I'd rather be an agent of change than an agent of
Mhm.
doing nothing. You know, you're sitting in a facility that this is change. And
Mhm.
some of our alumni who were here last week for homecoming, they were a little melancholy about it. They remember the place the way it was, but this is wonderful. You know,
you can be melancholy. I mean, I loved Ebbets Field, all right,
Yeah,
but Ebbets Field's not there
exactly.
anymore.
People
Mhm.
liked Shea Stadium.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know
a
who,
it's like
but
a
yeah,
fine balance
you
of
know,
nostalgia, you know, mixed
And
with.
did I have any control over
Yeah.
Ebbets Field being
No,
knocked down or the
no.
Dodgers moving to Brooklyn? Zero. Right? So, you know,
But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going to go now. But happy birthday!
yeah, thank you.
Many, many, many
But
more
I,
because we
know,
need you for the show.
Yes.
I don't want to
yes.
make it
Let's
sound
be
like I
clear.
don't.
Let's keep Otto healthy.
You know, it isn't always easy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, but I think that's, you know, which always stuck with me, you know, because life isn't easy, right? And I get acute. I try very hard to maintain kind of a positive thing, but there's a lot of hardships, right? And I would say you never know what's going on in someone's life, right? Because they could be presenting in one way, you know, but I think that's something that I was always taught too by my mom, you know, is the importance of being, you know, adapting into a circumstance, because I've had a lot of, you know, family members and friends who, you know, fell into the camp with like, oh, well, you know, if it's not my way, I don't want it, you know, like this is what it is. And this is young people, you know, and it gets even harder when you're older.
The age has nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I know people who were didn't adapt when they were 13.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way it was. I think another one, now that we're on this kick.
Yeah, give us. I told you today was all about Otto wisdom.
I think acceptance is another word that accepting people as they are, accepting the fact that when you're born, you're not, that doesn't, like some people like at the attitude like they're so great because of blah, blah. Well, how about saying to yourself, I was lucky when I was born. I didn't ask for anything. There was no checklist. I could have been born in a shack in Kenya. I could have been born anywhere. All right. But you weren't. But how about accepting the fact that somebody else
that was
born
into
much more difficult situations and they had nothing to do with it, right? So accept those people as best you can. Now,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you have to accept, when somebody becomes a killer or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Right, because obviously there's extremes, right? But I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
your overall message, and that's something that's very hard to do. I know I've personally, it's something that you actually need to tell yourself, whether, especially when they're close to you, right? So you want to be like, I'll yell at my mom. You got to be more active. You got to get up. You got to do this. You got to do that.
It's not
But
going to happen.
I can't do that, right? I could preach
It
all I
won't
want,
happen.
but it's something
I have
that
some of
you
that
have
going
to,
on.
yeah, that you have to, realize and accept that person for, it's a certain level and they will have to make that change themselves, and not take it so personal or think you could, I have worked on it. I always wanted to make everything better for, especially my loved ones. And sometimes you can't
No.
do that necessarily, and you get frustrated because you're like, why are you just not listening to everything I tell you to do?
Well, a lot of marriages that go down the tubes
Yeah, right.
because somebody married somebody they thought they were going to change.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like
No.
that. All right. You can maybe change gradually together.
Right.
All right.
Right.
But you're not going to change the basics.
Yeah, it's true. It's but I think that so we have two A's. We have adapt and acceptance,
There you
Otto.
go.
So I'm going to, hopefully by the time the show's over, there'll be a third one because it's just more marketable.
Triple
If there,
A.
yes, if we can get a triple A,
Agreement.
I want I'm gonna let you think about that. I know these just came to you, and what I think is awesome too is that you have such a good relationship with all of your family members, and especially your grandkids, and that's something that always really sticks with me. And more on Otto's birthday because we are approaching our first break. After the break, Otto and I will continue talking about what's going on in the town, his birthday, in life, words of wisdom. You're listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. Let's talk more about what's going on in the town, but more importantly, we're not done with Otto's birthday wisdom. I woke up this morning, I said, I'm going to get some, I like to get the Friday wisdom, and then I just preach it to all my friends and family. I call Jay immediately and say, this is what Otto said, so this is what we have to do.
You're going to hate me.
No, but he likes, because there's a lot of times, and I'm telling you, amongst my friends who, I'm getting older and everyone's all upset. And I said, Otto is the prime example that does not matter. If you live life a certain way and have a certain mind stop, and I think to continue to do things that bring you joy. Obviously, there are certain limitations to certain things, but I love the fact that you stay active. I mean, after the show, he's like, I gotta run. I'm going bowling.
I don't play baseball anymore.
Yeah, but I'm saying
which I used to play 7 days a week.
Yeah, but I think that there's still ways that you're able to tweak it and stay active. And before the break, I was mentioning, your relationship with your kids and your grandkids, and I think that that's so incredibly special. As someone who was very close to my grandparents, it's, a lot of people aren't, right? There's so many of my friends who don't have that kind of relationship, and you're missing out on so much historical knowledge.
I know I have probably a need for that because I really did not know any of my grandparents. All right. And I felt like I missed something there for whatever reason. They were in Germany. I did meet one grandmother who came over for my first wedding, but I was young and, and I only met her for a couple of days and I didn't really know her, and my other grandparents, as you know, I only discovered who my grandfather was about 3 years ago through DNA.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who he was. And learned he was in Brooklyn. Could have known him, but didn't. My mother's father and mother, I never met. I know nothing about them.
Mhm.
I think my mother wasn't overly joyed with her childhood
Yeah.
in Germany, and she never talked about them. It doesn't mean they didn't have a good relationship. Maybe they did,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. And I think that was something I wanted to, probably subconsciously in the
Yeah,
beginning.
you wanted to change
I
it.
wanted to avoid that
Yeah.
for my family.
Yeah. But
I
that's so special.
Yeah.
Everybody should have you in their family because I'm telling you, the things that you've passed down, that's a theme in actually our Pioneer newsletter that's coming up, is giving back to the next generation, right? I found this really interesting article on ways to kind of do that.
Well, one of the
And I'm
things I
such a
just
believer in
did,
it.
which I can interject here, is two things really. I created external hard drives for all of my
Mhm.
children just recently
Mhm.
with all documents that are of any relevance, with all photos, like 19,000 of them,
Mhm.
videos, they've all been organized over the last 20 years by families and groups and whatever,
You're just speaking, the
and
organization of all
audio. I
this
have
is
some
really
old
just
cassette tapes
Mhm.
that I did years ago with the kids when they were little, before we got into the
Mhm.
stuff we have now. And each of them now have that hard drive.
Wow.
And some of them have started looking at the pictures up on the screen, and they
Mhm.
didn't realize all those pictures existed.
Mhm.
So I did that, and I felt like that was a good contribution to future
Yeah.
generations. The only thing I told them was, make sure you stay up with technology,
Mhm.
and that when external hard drives are no longer the state of the
Mhm.
art, that you shift that to whatever it is.
Mhm.
Like I went from 8mm
Yeah.
to cassettes to VHS to whatever,
Mhm.
whatever, converting old stuff along the way.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be lost. All right.
Yeah.
And the second thing I did was that on Ancestry, which, uh, over the last 20 whatever years, really kicked in during COVID, actually. Looking back on it, that's when I really did a lot of the heavy
Right.
duty work. Uh, there's a thing on Ancestry called Life Story. I put in Christina Lou's
Mhm.
name, Fennel,
Mhm.
and up comes a life story that's created by Ancestry. Now, is it perfect? No. But is it better than what most people are going to get? By far.
It might be
So,
juicy,
so I had a
that Fennel
100,
bloodline.
a 150-page book printed of the life story for each of them. And Lulu, who does
Mhm.
books. Is it perfect? No. But is it
That's
something
so, what a treasure. It's
yeah,
just so cool,
it's
Otto.
something that they will have.
It's
And,
just because I'm telling you, I've been there, and luckily in my family, my mom, my aunt is like, Miss Historian. She loves history. That's like her thing. So she's aware of a lot of things, and through conversations and stuff with my grandparents, but there's so much now that, we'll see an old photo and we're like, wait, who is this? You can't, you're not sure. And then it's, you don't have that luxury to ask the person, like, who is this? So I think it's so important, to have those conversations and to get as much information, while the person's with you, to have forever, because it's part of your
well,
history.
I think that's a fact of life that
Yeah.
is just the way it is that I wish I had asked a lot more
Yeah.
questions, but that's the way it is.
I know.
Because
It's
you're
hindsight,
going
right?
through life, you're busy,
Yeah. I
and you
know.
figure this is going to go on forever, but
Mhm.
it's not.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of things I would love. People say to me sometimes, who would you love to have dinner with?
Mhm.
I'd love to have dinner with my father at the same age as me.
Yeah.
That would be really a great
Mhm.
conversation,
Mhm.
or my mother,
Yeah.
when we're on equal footing,
Mhm.
but that doesn't happen. So what I'm trying to do, or try to do with this, is to maybe answer some of the questions that you might ask when you're 80 years
Mhm.
old yourself.
Right.
You know,
No, and what's very cool about the time that we're in is there's so many, different programs and books, that you're able to kind of, that give you prompts of a certain question. So you could say, okay, because listen, we're not walking around all day long, reflecting on
no,
everything possible from our history. But when you get these prompts, and I think those are such great gifts for people, with the holidays coming up, I always say, to kind of say, okay, and then it puts a little thing in your head. Okay, let me prompt that, answer that question, so, and then by the end of it, you have this great, mix of all these wonderful information. So,
Yeah, and like I wasn't obsessed by it. I mean, it was
yeah.
going on part-time while doing other things.
Mhm.
Uh, and it would go in spurts. I might not touch anything for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, I get rejuvenated. But it was always there on the list.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
I have a
just think that's
project
cool.
list. The
Say,
project,
there it is. I knew
well, the
I knew
big
that
thing-
list was going to be
well, the
involved.
big thing why I call it project is because it's just that. It's not going to be finished in a day. It could be
Yeah.
finished in a year,
Mhm.
2 years, 5 years, who knows what.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah.
And it's a goal. Like you
Mhm.
talked
Yeah,
earlier about
that's right.
goals. Those are part of some of the
Mhm.
goals,
Yeah, but
Anyhow,
that's
back to the town.
no, but that's great. Good stuff. And I think that it's important that your outlook is just so wonderful, and for our listeners to hear it, because I know there's a lot of people out there who, might not think they could do certain things and because of age, and you're a prime example of, age is just a number. And 88 will be the number on Monday. So very happy birthday to you, my friend.
Double 8, I like that one, really.
Yeah, it seems lucky. I
Yeah.
like it. It has a good little
Like James Bond.
yeah. I like it. I'm into it.
Double 8.
Oh, what? I didn't even think about it.
Was it?
88.1. It's our station.
yeah.
Now, you know what? You're going to have to really
why I
up
did
it.
that.
That's why you were so wonderful today with our guests. You're really, really great. But I love it. So happy birthday to you, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all
and
your effort,
happy
and Dan
and
everybody
healthy.
who I've been connected with during this show has been a major of importance to my life.
Good.
All right. All of you are of
Mhm.
major importance. And what I have learned and the exposure that I've had
Yeah.
to people who are really interested.
Yeah.
I love it. It's really, it's been a great experience.
Well, you're a natural. We always say that, you didn't have radio experience, but look at you now getting recognized at Town North Hempstead events.
Well, it shows you you're never too
Yeah.
to try something new.
Yeah, that's right. Autographs in the
Yeah.
at Fun Day Monday with Otto Lowe's. But really, it really does. And that, I think, is the best message. And we always try to get out on the show is that yes, certain things you might not be able to do, but there's always something new to learn. And I think that's really the true key to you, Otto, is that you're always willing to learn and find out new information about something. And that's what I think really adds to growth,
Well, and I
That's
like
it.
it.
That's it.
You
That's
know?
it, my friend. So
You know,
happy and healthy.
Part of it too is that, as you get older, you go through a lot of things, and people who've had AFib and
Yeah.
who had an
right.
aneurysm and who had this and who had that. And you realize you really don't know a whole heck of a lot about some of it. And the opportunity to learn a little more about it
Yeah.
and try to relate, frankly, to people who might be going through this stuff
Mhm.
is a good thing.
Absolutely. I certainly agree. And it's just the best part about this show, I said that last week in our anniversary show, was that, we really have such a privilege on the show to meet these incredible people. I mean, look, the chief of Northwell Vascular Surgery. I mean, that's incredible, and I
Big
thank
fan.
all these people that have taken time out of their schedules to join us, whether it's in person or virtually, and just all the connections we've made in the community, because what it does show you is that there's so many people, and really on this show, and I have to say, they are so invested in what they're doing, no matter who it is, right? We've had, doctors, authors, and all kinds of different things, mental, and you could really feel
Entertainers.
that, right, that the people are just so invested in what they're doing. Even with our Dr. Landis in our first segment, you could tell that he's passionate about what he's doing and wants to help people. And I think it's just a great reminder that there's people out there who are just trying to do good, and help people.
He did one comment that came up that I thought about, which is something that we all should think about.
Mhm.
Like I talked about years ago going to the doctor and wind up waiting in the waiting room for 3 to 4 hours because
I
it
really
was
like
a
that.
very folksy atmosphere, right? And nowadays it's not folksy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face reality. All right. It's a business situation, a health situation, and that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
But what people do have to understand, that includes me, there are times where you may end up sitting in that waiting room a little longer than you
Mhm.
think you should. All right. And you may get annoyed by it. But as Dr. Landis pointed out, if somebody all of a sudden discovers
Right.
talking to him that they need surgery,
Mhm.
he's going to spend some more time with them talking about it,
Mhm.
which is going to screw up the schedule,
Yeah.
the 15-minute schedule. All right. So I think in most cases, the doctor is really not trying to back up the waiting room. All right.
Right. That's not the main goal of
Yeah, I mean,
the.
there could be one in here,
Yeah.
there, who maybe are just not good at
Mhm.
time management. All right. But for the most part, uh, doctors flow pretty well. But there will be those exceptions because there's somebody there who needs more time.
Mhm.
And I think we got to try to understand
Well,
that.
it goes back to your two A's. You're adapting and accepting of the situation,
Yeah.
So I do think it's, because I'm the queen. I just somebody just gotta be mindful of the situation, right? It's easy. We've all been there where you get frustrated, you're in traffic, you're on the line, the supermarket is taking forever. It's easy to get yourself worked up and fed up. But you also can sit there and you just take a minute, right? I always say just take a minute. My husband calls it, I'm being social worky. um he turned into an adjective,
Well,
but it's important to, and it's hard, right? You have to work on it. It's a lot easier to get pissed off at something.
I have a philosophy about
Yeah.
lines too. All
Yeah.
right.
Oh, see,
When you
more
first
wisdom.
go into the service, when I first go into the Navy, all right, first it starts right in the draft board where you report in the morning. Uh, you look, there's a line, 60 people, you're on the end of the line. Okay. So now what? Okay. You keep creeping up and the big thing that I always do, if it works, is look back and say, hey, there's like 20 people behind me
Right.
now. So
That's what yeah.
I'm making progress.
Right. Exactly.
And then
Like,
it turns
whoa,
out,
look at
then
this
you
line
go to
now.
boot camp in the Navy, all right? And you're waiting online for everything,
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
and not short lines, long
Yeah.
lines. When you get your new T-shirts,
Mhm.
and then you have to go stencil your T-shirt so somebody doesn't steal your
Mhm.
T-shirt. You got your names on your T-shirt, and your skivvies and the whole bit that goes along with it. And all of this stuff is a long line.
Yeah.
And you look back on those lines, and that's what, even like I go to a bagel place, I get a bagel, and there's like 15 people in front of me. I say, well, I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I mean, listen, especially, where we live, we're in a time where that is, and traffic, forget it. I mean, but you know what? I put on my podcast and, and if I feel myself starting to get agitated, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to drive like a maniac to get home. I'm just going to let it ride and figure
That's
it out.
another subject, but anyhow.
Yeah, but
driving
it's
like a
all part of
maniac.
the, getting yourself, and we're certainly in a society where, things move fast, right? Especially, we're New Yorkers. Things are going fast. We're trying to do things, we're moving around. The information's coming at us so fast. Social media is constantly in our face, so it's all these things to just kind of make you explode faster, frankly.
I had
So
an
you have to work.
experience.
Yeah.
I may have mentioned this before, but I don't recall. I do this Jones Beach thing on Sunday morning. On the way home on the Meadowbrook 2 weeks ago, there had to be 10 cars, sports cars, having a race on the
Oof.
Meadowbrook going 100 miles
Yeah.
an hour,
Yeah.
zipping their way through all the traffic. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to make an editorial comment. We ought to have the ability to have TVs. Forget my privacy. All right.
He gave up his privacy.
Have TVs taking pictures of all that stuff with all the license plates and everything else that's involved with it, and nail people who do that kind of thing, because they're a risk to everybody, themselves and society. But that's an editorial comment.
You're just right. See, you reflect on it after. You didn't get yourself too worked up. You just
George Orwell would love you.
Yeah. He just reflected on it. But it's all these things. And I think, you certainly made a good point. I like your thing online. You have to and it's tough. We always say it's easy to, we certainly had this conversation during COVID a lot, me and you, is like, that it's so much easier to be like, throw in the towel, not do it, and it takes more work to try and change something, right? And to take that minute, to take that, pause, to process the information. We're all just kind of trying to immediately, spit out whatever is on the top of our head. But, sometimes there is something to say about just taking a pause, and reflecting on the situation, because
Well, my
impulsivity can get you in
reflection on that
trouble.
situation was that people like that should be caught.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and
No, and you
really
had
have
to
no
change
right to put
yourself.
my life in
No,
jeopardy.
but
So,
what you had to do is, maybe go a little slower, change a
well,
lane or something.
that's what you do. You get
Yeah.
out of the way.
No, that's it. Well, we're going to get to talking about the town after the break. You are listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. Well, Otto, let's get into some of the great stuff going on in the town of North Hempstead.
We should.
We should. There's just so much to talk about. I also want to remind all of our listeners that every month I send out an email newsletter with all this information, including town events too. So if you have an email, or if your daughter does, or your son, or your caregiver, even if you don't, you can call 311 and I will mail you a hard copy, because at my office, we call it the Bible, because it has really so many wonderful programs. And it's a great place to just look and see what's going on. And I encourage everyone to call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get that information, because the October one should be coming out shortly. I sent the draft, so hopefully it'll be coming out.
Did you really already?
I did. I got to, stay on top of my stuff.
In
In addition
amazing
to,
person.
thank you. In addition to the email newsletter, we have a Pioneer newsletter. It gets mailed out to close to, I think we're at like 60 something thousand now, households in the town of North Hempstead. And it comes out twice a year. I want everyone to know it only twice a year, because I often get phone calls saying I haven't received the Pioneer, but it only comes out twice a year. But that's a really great tool as well. I have been working on, I actually submitted the draft for that as well. Otto has a very interesting article in it about Facebook groups that he enlisted some technology to do. So he had a dual kind of purpose. I really like this. You took the assignment to the next level, which I really like. There's a great article from Northwell as well, and just different kind of fall preparedness things, fall driving tips, how to some nutrition for fall. So there's a whole host of really good information in that. So that hopefully will be coming out in the middle of October. So fingers crossed that when that gets there. And if you don't receive it, call 311 too. There's a lot of different programs and events coming up. I want to remind people that next week, October 5th, is the Fall Festival at North Hempstead Beach Park, which is over in Port Washington, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's a really fun time to celebrate fall, to kick it off with all ages, free activities that include pumpkin decorating, bouncy slides, different kiddie trains. There's music, there's food, there's beer and wine, there's local merchants. And of course, for the little ones, there's a lot of costume characters walking around that you could take your picture
Will you
with.
be there?
I will not be there,
You won't.
unfortunately, but a lot of my counterparts will be there. I actually have an event to go to that day. So
Will they be like, can they be recognized as they're going to be like booths or?
oh, you mean our staff people?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
yeah, so well, it's mostly community services who will be running around,
Right,
setting up things. But there should be some merchants that will have, and hopefully someone will be able to represent PI2. It's hard because it's a weekend, obviously. But I really love Fall Festival. I've been there many a times. I've taken my little nieces over there too, and it's just a fun, beautiful setting. Last week I was talking all about North Hempstead Beach Park and my love for that park. I think it's a great place. There's great parking as well, and it's just a fun thing, to kick off the season. So definitely check that out if you are available. We also have Italian Heritage Month celebration is coming up on Thursday, October 10th at 7 p.m. at Clingy Martin Park. North Hempstead proudly partners with the Sons of Italy's Marino and Cellini Lodges to launch the Italian Heritage Month celebration. There's education, cultural discussions, of course, great food, and a sample of the good life. So join us in recognizing the contributions for the Italian American community.
Sausage and peppers.
I listen, it's making me hungry, even just thinking about it. This is when the hunger really starts to kick in. And I just think it's fun. We had a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration last month. So the town's always doing these really great programs. And another one, because we are approaching November, is the Thank You to Our Veterans Luncheon is Friday, November 8th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Clingy Martin Park. It's a thank you to the veterans. There's a free outdoor barbecue lunch. It's open to veterans from all military branches who have served the country. Agencies will also be on hand to share information about different services too. So I really hope that people will go and, you can join your spouse and attend because it's a really fun and positive event.
We'll have to
do.
eat it here.
I know. Hopefully, we have to put some barbecue stuff on hold because we're just working too hard. We're just such hard workers over here. But speaking of November and veterans stuff, I've been trying to schedule some different veterans agencies to come on the show. There's so many organizations out there. And what I love about Project Independence and, our Department of Services for the Aging mixed with community services, we're always all sharing resources, so there's a lot of people that, are registering for the veterans program to be a merchant there. And then they sent it over to me. So we got a great communication. So on this show, we're actually going to have from Northwell Health, the liaison, his name is John Kelly, I believe. He's the military liaison over there, and they're doing really great work in connecting veterans to different services. And so I'm excited to have that on. But also coming up on our Project Independence and New Radio show, next week, we will have on Dahlia Ellison, who is a licensed associate real estate broker with Douglas Elliman. And she's going to be talking about transitioning and downsizing for seniors, which I think is a very important topic. Whether you have a house, and now you need to go to a smaller space, or if you just need to go to an assisted living, whatever it might be. It's such a hard thing. We are always talking about getting rid of things, Otto. It's something that we're always trying to do.
Stuff.
Stuff accumulates so fast. It really is. And that's why I think this topic, she had reached out and said, I said, great topic, because it's a tough of all ages, right? And especially as you get older, the accumulation. I could only think of I've been in my house now since 2011, right? And we have accumulated so much stuff, which I do repurpose.
I could imagine you having
There's
a lot of stuff.
So I am constantly in the process of, moving things around or shifting things, because the holiday comes, you got to kind of do a
Do
rotation.
you ever throw anything away?
I do.
Okay.
I have to say, I have gotten better at throwing things away.
Okay.
My husband may disagree, but on the other hand, I laugh because my brother is the polar opposite, who will throw away some things someone gave him yesterday. It's crazy that we're siblings, but they're so very different. I'm a little more sentimental, but I also am very aware of stuff accumulating.
Well, that's a whole subject by itself. Stuff management.
Stuff management. And I'm telling you, I am constantly in the garage, because they're like, oh, where are you? I'll get a text from my mom. She's like, where? I'm like, I'm in the garage doing organization, and I need to be alone. I don't want any help. I don't want my husband in there. And some things are heavy, he probably should, but I said,
want another opinion.
I need to just do it myself, because it's like a puzzle. It's like literally I'm sitting there, doing Tetris, in the garage with things, but it's an important topic, clearly, because I could certainly
when
talk
you do
about
a garage, the trick is you got to take everything out of the garage.
Yeah.
Put it in the driveway.
Yep.
And then think about where you're going to put it back or throw it out.
I know. You know, that's why I love a dumpster, because I feel like when you
A
have a
dumpster comes
dumpster,
in
you know,
handy.
it gives you that extra motivation. You know, if I have a dumpster, that's really when I'm like, all right, I mean business, you know. We did that and it was such a satisfying feeling, you know, even though my dad claims we threw away all of his things, you know, but that's a whole nother
You know,
story.
I think I said this before, but I keep doing further
Mhm.
culling, you know, there's always stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and I got this thing full of screws and nails.
Oh, me too.
And when you buy nails and screws now, years ago, you could go in and buy 2 nails, 2 screws.
No, you got to buy a
whatever.
full pack.
Now you got to buy
Yep.
400 screws.
Yep.
So you need 2.
Yep.
All right. So you end up with these boxes of all
know.
kinds of masonry nails, which I'm never going to nail anything into
I know.
masonry ever again.
I know.
And I finally decided, I took the whole thing. I had it in actually drawers.
Mhm.
I took the whole thing, took a picture of it, and sent it to the family and said, "Who wants this?" I kept,
Yeah, was there a
yeah, I
taker? So
did
I'm curious.
actually.
Oh,
And
wow.
I kept maybe 25 screws and nails in total out of the whole pile.
Mhm.
My one son-in-law took it,
Mm.
and he told me that it wasn't maybe a week after that it came in handy, that he
Oh,
needed
okay. So
something.
there you go. You pass it along to someone who can use it.
And me, you know, if I need a nail, 1 nail, 2
Mhm.
nails, okay, I
Mhm.
may buy a nail,
Mhm.
you know, but I
I
must have
know.
had 50,000 screws and nails. And I said, I don't really.
You want to know what I also have so much of that I'm gonna have to do something about? Are buttons. Because you know, yeah,
Buttons.
when you buy a shirt or a coat, right, they give you the button just in case, right? Which I think is, you know, oh, this is so great. You know, if God forbid my button falls off, I'm gonna replace this button. Let me tell you, I've never replaced a button in my life. I have all varieties, and look, they're in a very pretty mason jar because you know I aesthetically like things, you know, to look nice. But it's just accumulating so many buttons, and I'm like, when am I ever gonna actually find the button that I need for that thing? You know, so it's these things that you have to walk because you think you're doing the right thing. You know, I'm saving this, I'm gonna, you know, use it, and it doesn't happen. So
Buttons are an interesting one.
yeah, I mean, at least buttons are pretty. You know, it looks pretty in the mason jar. It looks nice, I must say. But you know, it's certainly I have not used it, and that's what I think. I've and from the show, I have to say, and I'm from having these topics and stuff, and really trying to, you know, declutter, because I do believe that, you know, your mental health is impacted by, you know, if there's too much
Well, I
clutter.
mean,
I
that's
do
our
believe that.
connection with the town, all
Yeah.
right? Because the town is helping
Mhm.
you with mental health.
Yeah.
And if mental health is, maybe you got too many buttons.
Yeah, right. And you just feel inundated by
You're
buttons. Yeah, it's like your brain, like,
with
this is gonna put me
buttons.
over the edge. Yeah. But
You gotta
it's
button it
it
down.
is. But you know, think about being a senior. I can't tell you how many seniors we've dealt with that have just paper, right? That's what me and you also talk about, Otto, is the amount of paper that adds up. And then newspapers, forget it.
Oh,
And then
newspapers,
I mean,
forget that.
I have so many, you know, e-bills, right? I don't want the paper, just, you know, send me an email. But I still get so much mail. For someone who's, you know, subscribes to not get it, I'm constantly getting mail. We laugh about the cruise ship things that we get, Otto, all the time.
Yeah.
Where they're always trying to enlist Otto and I for a cruise. But, you know, these things, unless you're getting rid of them,
Yeah.
are not, you know, my mom has medical stuff going on, right? So on top of, you know, getting your medical, you get the Empire insurance, you know, it's not a bill, but it's like 10 pages of just information that you're not even fully processing. So she's always scared to throw it away. God forbid she needs it, but it just accumulates. I'm like, what are we doing with all of this? You know? So it's just stuff that, and it's hard. You know, I would sit there with my grandpa for hours because he was the king of paper. And he would have all these stock portfolio booklets. I'm like, what are you doing with this? Like, what's happening with this? And we'd have to sit there. But, you know, it's hard, you know, and that's why I think Dahlia's segment will be so beneficial, because, you know, we're laughing about certain things, but it's a real struggle for people,
It is.
you know, to part with certain things. And there's a whole mental, you know, component to getting rid of things that's tough. Especially as you age, when you're holding on to those kind of memories.
Well, you know,
and stuff.
part of that for people who are in my bracket actually is that years ago, the only thing you did have was paper.
Right.
All right. The paper would come in, you'd get a bill, you put it in a file, and the next thing you know, you end up with 12 years of Con Edison bills.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I know.
which,
I know.
so now what do I do with those? I throw them out. That's
Yeah.
what I don't even get them
No,
now.
I know.
But I mean, people who grew up with that
Yeah.
will have a tendency to keep that stuff.
Mhm. No, of course. And listen, I even remember when we, first moved into our house, we had our filing cabinet and every water bill that came and every, tax. Once again, I haven't looked at them once in my life. So they were just like sitting in this thing. And then when we did our garage clean out, I said, everything we have is like an electronic account at this point. Like we can part
But
with,
even with electronic, which I do
Yeah.
also, I try to get as much, like the Medicare book just came out.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I get it on
Mhm.
file or
Mhm.
whatever the hell they call it.
Mhm.
So I have it, I don't have it in the fat book that
Yeah.
I have to keep each year, like
Mhm.
some people have probably every year.
Right.
for
Yeah.
the
Just to look
last-
back, an
Yeah,
archive.
and
The
fat books.
Medicare and You archive book.
But if you really, really have to look at it, you have the ability to go online
Yeah.
and look at it. But you need to have that in your mind.
I know
You
it's
know?
tough. No, it's for real. It's
Yeah.
definitely difficult. And like I said, I've certainly
But
gotten
we
better
end
at
up,
parting with
like in the
things.
town of North Hempstead, one of the nice things is you used to have a blue pail for your recycling, all right? And that would go out wherever you live, it varies, all right? And then they came along with the idea that you can use a clear plastic bag for your recycling, which is what
Yeah.
I now do.
Yep.
And I have paper and cans and
Mhm.
whatever, most of which they can't really do anything with
I know.
anyhow. But anyhow, that's
Yeah,
not the
you
point.
give it a go.
The
Right?
point is
You're
that
trying to do your
you
part.
now can put all this stuff in these plastic bags
Yeah,
and just dump them once a
Yeah.
week, and you don't have to mess with it.
I know.
Like your cruise books and all your
Yeah.
political
Oh my gosh.
brochures that are coming out
So
now.
many.
Uh,
So many.
and now you're starting to get marketing for advantage plans for Medicare, which we'll cover with Barry Klitzberg, but they're big on marketing material,
Yeah.
on all the great things you're going to get by using these things. And paper builds up.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
better
Like that's what I'm
throw
saying.
them
Like
out
it,
every week
yeah.
in the
It fills
recycling,
up
all
so
right?
fast. I understand how it could become unmanageable for some people who are, I have my little mail thing by the door, and I clean out. And then all of a sudden I'll look the next week, and as you said, it's filled with, so
Stuff.
many things. Like it's just so much stuff. So it is important. It certainly will make you feel better. So tune into that.
And frankly, it's sad to say, but a lot of mail comes in from charities, all right?
Yeah.
And I understand the need for
Mhm.
charities nowadays to get money. But on the receiving end of those things, I don't know how a charity can break through the barrier, if you will, because you could get 10 different charities in
I
5
know.
days,
Yeah.
and they're competing. There's no question about it.
Well, we're gonna have to ask Dahlia all about what to do with Mel when she
Yeah,
comes on the
well,
show. And then on October 18th, you had mentioned, Otto, we're gonna have Barry Klitzberg, who is the assistant program coordinator at Nassau County HICAP program at Family and Children's Association. He is going to discuss Medicare 2025 updates, which every year we got him.
We got 2 new people in my walking group, my Jones Beach walk group, who are just going on Medicare. And I gave them Barry's contact information.
There you go. I mean, the amount of people we send Barry's way, we keep Barry busy on this show.
But Barry is great.
Yeah. And it's just, what's nice about Barry is that he is just there to help you for what works with you. He's not trying to sell you anything. Right. That's the best part. Which, as you mentioned, in this kind of world,
making any money.
No, he is not.
It's
He is
free.
just and just so knowledgeable. So really excited to have Barry on. I'm sure Otto will have a list of questions for that. On October 25th, we're going to have this organization called the Story Around Creative Writing Workshops for Seniors. They're actually based in Port Washington. They're going to be doing a program with us, these memory workshops, which I can give you the dates for that. If I could, November 6th and December 6th. So November 6th, they will be at Clinton G. Martin Park at 10 a.m. And on December 6th, they'll be at the Port Washington Adult Activity Center. These are memory poetry workshops, which is really nice, is that you're going to walk away with something. Oh my gosh. And we're wrapping this up. Call 311 or 516-869-6311 for any information. Thank you all for listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town. I'd like to thank Otto, the birthday boy. I'd like everyone to wish Otto a happy birthday. Send out the good vibes to Otto. Project Independence and You is a production of Long Island University Public Radio. A special thank you to our Wizard of Oz, Dan Cox. Join us again next Friday at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a great weekend.